All right, so that's the first thing it wanted us to do in the program. It said by asking the user for the circle's radius. Now it says the next thing is creating a circle object. Okay, so now let's do that. So to create a circle object, we're going to use a name of the class, which is circle, and then give the object a name. I'm going to say circle1, right? Now this is just like creating a variable, like say int age, right? This is the type, the data type, and this is the name of the variable. You can think of this as a data type, and you can think of this as the name of the variable. But the only thing is, once you write something like this, Java is going to realize that this is not part of the primitive data types, like say int, doubles, strings. String is not primitive. Java is going to realize that this is not one of the primitive data types. It's going to realize it's not an int, double, a character, or something like that, right? So it's going to realize, it's going to look in that same folder, that same location where this program is going to be saved for a circle class, and realize that, oh, you are trying to create a circle object from this class, from this circle class. So it's going to reserve the circle1 object, the circle1 class type variable. It becomes a class type variable. Okay, so it's going to reserve the circle1 as a variable that's going to hold the reference of an object created from this circle class. Okay, it's going to hold the reference address. Okay, the memory address. I'll basically reference the memory address of this particular object that is about to be created from the circle class. Right. Now, when we do this, we have only created a variable, a class type variable, or basically a reference variable that's going to hold the memory address of an object. We haven't actually created the object. So to do that, we set an equal sign and say new circle, like this, new circle. So now when we do this, we have created a new circle object in memory, and we have assigned with an equal sign the memory address to this circle1 object here. So that's what we've done. But we had two constructors. We had two constructors over here. The first constructor was accepting the radius, and it was setting the radius to the radius given. The second constructor was accepting no argument and setting the radius to 0, 0. So if we leave it this way, we are using the second constructor here, the one that accepts no argument, because we didn't pass in any argument here. So by default, it automatically uses the no argument constructor here. And by default, the radius of this particular circle1 object is going to be set to 0. But if we went ahead and said, and gave this circle an argument of, let's say, radius given, then it's going to use this constructor and set the radius to the value that we give it. We can do that. We can go ahead and set, okay, try when we are creating this object, set the radius to the user radius that we have here, right? And then we can, and then basically we've created a circle, right? Right. So basically we've created a circle with that radius. Now, if I, for example, let's see what the question said after that. It said creating a circle object, which we've done right now. We've created a circle object with the user's radius, and then reporting the circle's area, diameter, and circumference. Okay, so to get the circle's area, we know the circle has a radius now. We know it has pi, which is constant. We defined it in the class. Okay, it has a radius now because we've given it a radius. All right, so to get the circle's area, we had a method here, which is getArea, which was basically returning the result of this calculation here, pi times radius. So we can go ahead and call this getArea method, okay, for this particular object. So we can say circle1. Actually, we have to print it out. So we can say, first of all, let's say circle1 dot getArea, and basically circle1 dot getArea. Remember, getArea was returning pi radius times radius. It's only returning it. It's not printing it. So we have to wrap this around the system dot out dot println statement and have it returned. Have it printed. Sorry. When it's so basically this is printing out the return value of this method call. Okay, you can do that, And then we can just have multiple system.out.println statements, or we can just put it all in one statement, one println statement. We can do that. You know what? Let's just use one system.out.println statement. So what we've done is we've created a circle, given it a radius. We want to see the area of that circle. Okay. Also, we want to see. So let's just even make this look nice and create a string here and say area is going to be equal to this, right? And then let's go ahead and concatenate it with new line character. Okay. So the new line character backslash and n together is the new line character. When the interpreter or the compiler sees this, it takes the position from where it's at to the next line, and anything that comes after this new line character is displayed on that next line. It creates basically a line break. Anything that comes after this is displayed on the next line, on that same next line. All right, so we've created a new line character, and the next thing we want to display is, it said, the area, diameter, and circumference. So next thing is going to be diameter here. Okay, this only creates a new line character. If I put a space here, there's going to be a space before the string. I don't want that. This is not going to be displayed in a string. It's just going to create a line break. So diameter is going to be equal to, I'm going to concatenate it with circle1 dot. Remember, we created a method for getDiameter, which returns the radius times 2. And once it returns it, the system.out.println statement will print it out. So getDiameter is basically going to return radius times 2. And we know that this particular circle1 object has a radius of user radius, which the user specified. Okay, and then we want to go ahead and concatenate it with another new line character here. And then the last thing we want to display is circumference. So circumference, I know that I'm exceeding this line, so I'm going to break it after this plus sign here by hitting enter. And then that's going to be concatenated with circle1 dot get circumference. If we created a method for that, I think we did. Get circumference, yes, over here. So get circumference is returning 2 times pi times r, and once it's returned, this system.out.println statement will print it out. Okay, so let's try this out and see what happens. So as long as you save this program in the same location as where the circle class is saved, so that's over here, that's the circle class. Now we are saving the circle test program in the same location. As long as you save it in the same location, once you compile it, they should be able to see each other and work with each other. So make sure you save it in the same folder, or if you don't save it, you'd have to import it with the path of that location where one of the files is located, basically. So let's save it here. And let's see if we have any errors, and we do. All right, so cannot find symbol variable circle1. Okay, I spelled it wrong over here. I defined it as circle1 here. I over here, I spelled it wrong, so that's why. So it's supposed to be circle1. Compile this, and then it's solved. I mean, we don't have any errors. So let's run this and see what happens. Oh, one more thing. I always forget this every time. Let's cancel this. Forget about this. This is because we don't have any code for the cancel button. Just forget about it. We don't have code for that yet, so I'll just do this. All right, so anytime you use a GOption pane class, anytime we use a GOption pane, we have to call this system.exit method. Okay, and I'm going to pass in 0. So so anytime you use a GOption pane class, all right, an extra thread is started as a result of using it. So you would have to go ahead and terminate that extra thread with system.exit. And I'm passing in 0. Okay, later on I can test to see if 0 was what was passed here. But basically, if 0 was what, I can test on this method to see if 0 was what was returned. And if 0 was what was returned, it's normally an indication that this program got to this point, and it's normally an indication that it runs successfully and got to this point, got to this line, and 0 is just 0 is just an indication that it runs successfully. All right, so this is just to, and also this is to terminate that extra thread that is started, or that is that is started by the G-option pane. Makes them worse together. But yes, I hope you get it. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Well, one more thing also. We use a G-option pane. We use a G-option pane show input dialog to basically display information, right? That's what we did. But we are using a system.out.println statement to print out the information. I always do this too. Let's go ahead and use the G-option pane to basically display output to using a nice fancy window instead of using this, because once this shows, this system.exit is going to basically make this disappear almost instantly. So let's change this from a system.out.println to a G-option pane .show message dialog. That's going to show this message, same message in the dialog box. So G-option pane .show message dialog. But the thing is, the G-option pane .show message dialog takes a couple of arguments. For the first argument, I'm going to go ahead and type in null. Null basically is going to center that window on the screen, right? That's what it's going to do. Now I realize this is going off the screen, so I'm going to break it here rather, and then bring this up this way. All right, so null is going to center the window on the screen, and this is going to be what's going to be displayed on the window. All right, so now looks good. So let's compile this. We have an error, so let's see. Cannot find symbol variable G-option. G-option. It's supposed to be G-option pane and not G-option. All right, so compile this, and now we're good. Let's run this. So please enter the circle's radius. I'm going to type in 2. Hit OK. Now it says area is this, diameter is 4.0, and then circumference is this. Why is it the same value? Well, I don't know. The math is what we use, right? I hope I didn't leave the calculation as the same. Let's see. Did I? Area pi times pi r squared. Get diameter is radius times 2, and this is get circumference 2 pi r. Yeah, I think the I don't want to get into the math right now, but it should work as long as the formulas are correct. It should work. But we know that at least the diameter is the radius times 2, and we got 4, so that's fine. Yeah, so the diameter should be 25. Oops. I mean, sorry, is it times 2 or, hold on a second. Oh, sorry, it's, yeah, I thought it was squared. It's times 2, so that's 10. It's correct, sorry. I thought it was a square for some reason. Yeah, so, yeah, it's supposed to be 10, so that's why. It's basically double, so this is supposed to be 8. All right, yeah. Now they are changing, now they are all changing. So this is correct. If it's not correct, just check the formulas, check the numbers, and you should be fine. But the structure, the whole structure, everything is correct about it. Now, one more thing. We use the constructor this way. We use the constructor that accepts the, where is it? That accepts the arguments, the radius. We can use this constructor too, and then use the mutator method, which is set, where is it? Which is basically set. Did we create a mutator? Yeah, setRadius over here to set the radius of the field. So we can go ahead and over here create an object. Okay, create an object by not giving it a radius here, and we can run this and see, because once you use a no argument constructor, we know that the no argument constructor over here is just setting a radius to 0.00. So in that case, basically everything is 0.0. Everything is going to be 0. We know the circle's radius by default is going to be 0.00. So when we try to compile this and run it, everything should be 0.00. Well, even if we give it this, it's not really using it, right? Because we are storing user radius here, but we are never using it anywhere here. So it doesn't matter if we put in a million, or it doesn't matter, because we're not really using it, because now we are not using it here, because this was just to, well, we're going to use it later on, but then for now we're not using it. This was just to hold the user's radius. We're going to use it later on, but based on what we have right now, we're not using it anywhere here. So everything should be 0.0 because the no-arg constructor sets the radius to 0.00. So hit OK, and we can see everything is 0.00. One thing we can do is use the mutator, which is setRadius, to set the radius of that particular object, we have to call the setRadius method, give it the radius, which is going to be the user radius, and then now it's going to set the radius of that particular object to the user radius we just gave it. Oops. All right, that's my brother. Sorry about that. All right, so let's see. So over here, we've just created an object. Now we can go ahead. We realize that when we run this, we got 0.00 because it has a radius of 0, 0. We can call the setRadius method, give it a new radius, setRadius method, give it a new radius, and it's going to set the radius fields to the radius given. Okay, and that's what I mean by code outside of this class is going to use this public method to change the field of this radius. They can directly go to this field and change it. They have to use public methods because these fields are private, so they can't directly do it. They have to use something that is public to be able to change it. So I'm going to go ahead and set the circle 1, okay, object, or the circle, okay, circle 1 object. I'm going to call it setRadius. I'm going to call the setRadius method over here. Give it a new radius, and it's going to set a radius to that value. And the new radius we remember is the user's radius over here. So user radius here. So now when we do this, we've set the radius to the user radius. So now it's going to be whatever we type here. Now we are using the user radius that we're about to type here. So when I type in 45, I'm expecting 90 for the diameter, right? So 90 for the diameter, and this is the value. Now you'd have to go ahead and format these values. Okay, you can use a system that we could go ahead and format these values basically. Let's go ahead and do that. So before we even show it in the show message dialog, right? Because we're using the job option pane, we have to go ahead and format it first before passing it in here. Or we can also do it directly here. But let's just separate things out. I'm going to create. Okay, well, first of all, let's just do the formatting. I'm going to use a method, okay, in the string class, the format method in the string class. So string.format. And now we're going to specify a format. So basically, we are going to, the string.format takes in a couple of arguments, right? It takes in first how you want it formatted, and then second what you are formatting, right? How you want it formatted goes in double quote, okay, and what you're formatting, okay, basically is going to go in as a second argument, okay. You can have more arguments here. What we are going to do is we're going to specify a format, okay. We're going to create a format specifier in this string. So okay, so it's going to be just like this, right? What we want to go ahead and display is area, right? So area colon. Now we know this value is what's going to be here. But for now, we are going to go ahead and create a format specifier and say, we're going to create a placeholder and say a double value is going to replace this, right? A floating point value is going to replace this placeholder. And this placeholder is created by %f, meaning that a floating point value is going to replace this placeholder. That floating point value we'll specify here later on. All right. And later on, I'll get to the formatting. But for now, we know that a floating point value is going to replace this. And then after that, we know that we want a new line character, so \n, and we want the string diameter. And diameter is also going to be equal to a floating point value, so %f, right? Now you wonder, okay, now you have two placeholders. So basically the arguments you specify here are going to replace these placeholders respectively. The first argument I specify here is going to replace this one. The second argument I specify here is going to replace this one. So they're going to replace these placeholders respectively. The third thing is going to be get circumference. Before that, it's going to be a new line character, and then or circumference, basically. The third string here I want to display is circumference, not get circumference. The string circumference. So string circumference, before that is a new line character here. And that is also going to be equal to a floating point value, so %f. That's just a placeholder. that tells you that a floating point value is going to replace this. So a floating point value is going to replace this, a floating point value is going to replace this, and a floating point value is going to replace this. So now it's time to specify the values that are going to replace this, and this, these format specifiers respectively. So the first one is going to be circle.getArea, the result of that with a comma. The next one is going to be circle.getDiameter. And the other one before that, I think I have to break it. Let's see if it's going to fit there. It's going to be circle.getCircumference, but I can go ahead and break it here by typing an enter here. All right. So that's how the string.format works. All right. So now we can go ahead and remove everything here because something is going to replace it. What we want to display now is going to go here. Okay, so we can go ahead and basically copy all of this and paste it here, or we can break things out and make it look nice. So now basically what we've done here is we've specified the format here. These values are going to replace these placeholders respectively. All right. Once we format this, it's going to return. This method is going to return the formatted version, the way exactly the way we've specified it, right? We haven't really formatted it to 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places. We haven't really specifically formatted it, right? But we will. But the result of the format is going to be returned, right? We need a place to store that. So I'm going to go ahead and create another string here because it's returning a string, and call it user output string. Right, and user output string is going to store the result of the format. So sorry about my typing. User output string here. So user output string is going to basically store the result of this formatting, right? And then now we can go ahead and display user output string in the JOption pane, the show message dialog method this way. Now, if we display this, it's not really going to format it, but we've set a constructor to format it, right? So if we compile this and we run it, we're going to get the same thing. If I type in 2, I'm expecting 4 for diameter and basically these values. But now we can just add some more formatting and say that for this value, I want it formatted to 2 decimal places, and where you specify the precision is in between the percentage and the F. So if we want it formatted to 2 decimal places, you type in 0.2, which means formatted to 2 decimal places. That's the precision. If you want it formatted to 3 decimal places, you'd say 0.3. Now I wanted this to be 0.2. I can do the same thing for this one, 0.2, and the same thing for this one. I can say 0.2, right? And this is exceeding the screen, so I'll break it here and then bring this up. All right, so this is just the format specifier. Whatever is going to replace this is going to be formatted to 2 decimal places, and we know these values replace these placeholders respectively. The first one goes here, second one goes to the second format specifier, third argument goes to the third format specifier. And then now when we try to run this, now we have it formatted. And type it, let's say 34. Now we can see everything is formatted to 2 decimal places, 2 decimal places, 2 decimal places. So that's one way. That's the way to format it. That's one way to format it. All right. So yes, this works. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Thank you to all those who have been sending tips using the YouTube's support feature over here. Over here, so I got some payments, and I just wanted to say thank you. This one, I got some payments. I just wanted to say thank you to all those who have been doing that. Thank you very much for watching and for being a part of this whole learning journey. Again, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next program. All right then, bye bye.